everybody. It's your friendly neighborhood Jerry Rasco here with you again, and it's time for another amazing Spider-Man art retrospective video. Interesting video today. We are looking at the Amazing Spider-Man number 13. If this is your first video in the series, thank you for dropping in and checking it out. I do have a playlist that goes back all the way to Amazing Fantasy number 15, which is the first appearance of Spider-Man. And with all these videos, my goal is to take a look at the art that makes these comics and makes these stories. So I go through and talk about art process, some of the philosophy on how using art for storytelling, the mechanics, the actual process of doing it. And for me as an artist, I am learning a lot. There's a lot of older techniques in here that certainly can still be applied today. And then, of course, comparing it to modern comics and how it's different, how it's maybe improved, maybe how it hasn't. So anyway, if you enjoy this, make sure you check out the playlist here on my YouTube channel. And like I said, every week at Monday at 8 a.m., we have a brand new video that launches. So make sure you check that out. So we're back to Spider-Man, and we are back to a brand new villain. If you've been following along, you know that was kind of the process through quite a bit of the beginning of the comic, right? You have a new hero, and the new hero needs new villains. And so you want to keep the audience entertained. And so they brought in, every issue was a lot of new villains. Recently, just in the last couple episodes, you've seen where we had some reoccurring storylines, some things that went through. And so we're starting to see that sequential storytelling concept of month to month, story to story. So I'm very excited to take a look at the Amazing Spider-Man number 13 today. So let's get to it. So here we go. Here is the Amazing Spider-Man 13 featuring brand new villain Mysterio. And Mysterio is a villain that sticks around for quite a while. And it's an interesting take. I mean, if you're thinking about superheroes and making a superhero villain, this probably might not be the first thing that comes to mind. So it just tells you how creative both Stan Lee and Steve Ditko were. I will explain the book just as I do with every video. This is a PDF scan of the original comic. So you can see this one has seen better days. There are lots of tears on the cover, folds, etc. There is a lot of wear and tear. This comic is 60 years old, and so therefore that's what we can expect, right? So there is some, you'll see it in the papers, yellow, again, tears, the color changes a little bit, but for the most part, this is exactly what it would look like if you bought it off of the stands today. So here we have the cover, and it is, I said right off the top, I thought it was a good cover. I like the idea that, it's an action pose, and you have this dichotomy of Spidey being really bent and twisted, with his back literally up against a wall, and this stoic Mysterio with all the smoke, and he's got these big eyes on his costume and this bubble, you can't see his face, and he's just stoically standing there, and Spidey's greatest weapon, his webbing, is just dissolving in front of him. So what's he going to do? So I really like this. What I do say is I would like to see it bigger. So we have this section down here about, there's two little tiny scenes of, is Spider-Man robbing people? And then is he going to go to a psychiatrist to talk about his problems? These are things that are in the story, true, but we can get there. I don't need to see this. I would take this image, this storytelling in the bottom, because we're going to get to it in the story itself. And I would absolutely make this top portion here much larger. Maybe even make Spidey even bigger, that he's in the foreground closest to us, backed up right against, like I said, up against that wall. And Mysterio coming in, maybe even looming over him, which you could do if you had more space. But that's my opinion. Also, something to take into consideration is how were these comics being sold? So typically you saw them on spinner racks in stores, or you'd have them on magazine racks, shelves in like a newsstand or a store or something like that. And it's possible that this bottom part would have been covered, especially if it's in a spinner rack. Typically, the comics overlap. If anybody's not familiar with what a spinner rack is, when you went into a store that sold magazines, comics, etc., they would have this. It was a pole and it had kind of metal wire frame shelving around it, and the whole thing spun. So you could just kind of stand there and go and spin it around and see all of the books 360. And when to save for space, they would slightly overlap. So that's why it's so key that the title and having Mysterio up at the top in bright colors is important, because that's what the eye is going to see. And that's something that sticks in comics today. Your cover is a big chunk of your available real estate, if you will, on a cover, and you want that title to be bold, to be eye-catching, because sometimes as much as half of the whole comic image could be covered by the comic book in front of it. So you want that to catch the eye. Anyway, that's another reason why I don't think this imagery down at the bottom is that critical, but it was the storytelling of the time. So here we go. As we've seen in most, if not all of these images issues, it opens with a splash page. The splash page is one page dedicated to one big image, and here we have, it looks like Spidey has webbed these guys up. There's a safe open and he is running away with the cash. And what is going on? Is he really turned to crime? And what's going to happen with Mysterio? So great image. I love the lighting. Again, there's sort of that noir type of lighting where you have these shadows across, which I'm assuming is like a window, like a round window with the the bracing inside of it, maybe. It's onto the floor. Really, really nice. Good figures. These characters here are unique and interesting in the way that they're webbed up and their suits, but they're it's really great. This is a great page. So this is something that is really different. So as we turn the page, we see that Spidey is leaping out the window. He's got the bag of money. So this is not your usual montage poster splash page. This is actually page one of action. So this is something we haven't really seen in a Spidey comic so far in this series. Usually it's just like a redrawing of what's going to happen in the comic. So it might have, it would have Peter, and then it would have Mysterio over the top, and then something with Aunt May at the bottom or whatever. This is actually page one. This is literally, we're jumping into the action. So that's a really cool thing. Something that we see again now in more modern comics. And something that I've been talking about in this series is, why would you dedicate one whole page to rehashing basically what's on the cover in a different image? Made no sense to me. You only have a certain number of pages per month. Let's use them for storytelling. And this is exactly what we've done in a really dramatic and great artistic way. So Spidey jumps out. He sticks to the wall. I do like this pose as well of him on the wall. The hunched shoulders and the way he's crawling is really cool. And I've talked about this a lot as well, the pacing. So when you have this grid format where all the squares are the same size and in the same orientation, that helps to increase the timing of how you read it. You read from moment to the next moment, to him swinging, to him using his webbing to parachute away, and the cop standing there watching. So all this happens in a matter of a minute, maybe less. And so it's a good use of the grid panel. There's some things we could do in terms of, like, Spidey, even with a grid, you can vary the size of your figures some. And here, they're all pretty similar, right? This one and the one swinging are a little bit smaller. Of course, this one's very small, which is fine. But I'd like to see one of them, maybe this one where he's webbing the cops with Spidey being larger in the image. Again, just some variation on how you can vary up the imagery and make it more interesting while still using the grid pattern. Um, I, I have a note here for this page. Again, one of the things that I've noted with Steve Ditko, let me zoom into that top panel a little bit, which I think is kind of neat. Steve Ditko is amazing when it comes to creating unique characters in his background, which is really hard to do. We all know that, like, you know, here's Flash Thompson, here's Liz Allen, here's J. Jonah Jameson, here's Betty Brant. We know what Peter looks like. We know what Aunt May looks like because you draw those figures all the time. But all of a sudden, you have a street full of people. This is New York City. And he's got to draw a whole bunch of people and come up with them out of his head. And so you've got, like, this guy here. It looks like he's got like a little stub of a cigar and a hat with the brim up. You've got these guys over here. This guy has a really interesting nose and his kind of a sunken chin. You have these two ladies who are very different. One is very thin. One's a little bit chubbier. Great, again, under the chin area. Some guys are wearing hats. Here's a kid. Here's this guy in this outfit. Like, he really does an amazing job of varying up the characters, even when all they are is background. It's really hard to do. It's hard to just come up with them sometimes. So kudos to Steve Ditko and his amazing illustration work in how he comes up with these other characters. So from a story standpoint, my note was that the people in New York City are in Spider-Man's world are the most gullible people that have ever lived. So Spidey is seen robbing a bank. Now, we all know that Spider-Man could be anybody under the costume because you can't see his face, right? So they're like, oh, he did it, absolutely. And immediately, with one story in the Daily Bugle by Jonah Jameson, who has printed multiple incorrect stories about Spider-Man, by the way, right? We've seen that so far in these issues. Immediately, they're like, yep, I knew it. Ugh, he's a crook. He's terrible. It was just a matter of time. What a scumbag. And you just go, I can't believe that everybody would turn so fast. The only one who really doesn't is Flash Thompson. Flash Thompson stands by Spidey through thick and thin, which is, of course, the irony because he hates Peter Parker. And then Peter here, again, people are so gullible, even he believes that maybe he did it. He's like, nobody can do what I can do. There's no possible way. He doesn't even begin to entertain the idea that it could be an imposter. And so he's like, oh, maybe I did it in my sleep. Maybe I'm Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, just crazy stuff. So here we go. So Peter's trying to figure out some stuff. He's very distracted. He doesn't know what he's going to do. And it happens again. Spider-Man strikes during the evening when he's asleep. And he's like, oh, I got to know if it's me. So he goes to this psychiatrist to try to figure out if somebody, could actually be a split personality and not know it. And the guy wants to dig a little deeper, but he realizes he's got to protect his secret identity. So story-wise, kind of kooky, kind of weird. We waste some time. So on the cover, he talks about, oh, Spidey's going to a psychiatrist. Is this happening? And we waste basically a page, right? A little more, page and a half of story on this concept that then gets thrown away and we don't really see it again. I did note that I really like this panel with Aunt May's face. So Peter's upset, and we always see sort of Peter worried about Aunt May. Peter, and Aunt May's cares are always very superficial. She's like, don't get, it's raining. Bring your umbrella. Oh no, make sure you eat good, Petey. You don't want to get a cold. And here she's like, something's really wrong, and I know. Excuse me. I know he's a really sensitive kid, but you see the age on Aunt May, which I really like. So over the years, as we get towards, modern comics, they ended up sort of almost de-aging Aunt May. Like, as you can tell in these early comics, Aunt May was really old. This isn't like his, this isn't supposed to be Peter's mom or dad's um, sister or sister-in-law, I guess. May was supposed to be like his great aunt. Like she is, probably she's got to be 70 years old here, and they kind of de-aged her over the years. They've younged her up to keep in line with modern stuff, but so be it. I really love how what Steve has done here. The eyes are small, crinkly. The lines, the space between the nose and the lips has grown longer, which again is kind of a way of showing age. Even the fingers, right? Normally you wouldn't have a woman's fingers have this many wrinkles and stuff in the knuckles. So really, really nice job of showing that age. It's hard to do without going too far, and this hits it just right. So here we go. So Spidey again, it's some pretty good poses, good run pose here. Again, keeping the horizon line just above the panel line. So you never really want your figures to sit exactly on the panel. It takes them out of the space that they're in that you've drawn and puts them on the surface of the paper. So it starts to defeat the illusion of 3 dimensions that you're trying to accomplish if your figure's feet sit right on the panel border. So that's just something to note. So this is a good one here. The other thing that's really good, which can be really hard, are the hands. So it's easy once you get to know the anatomy of the body and you start to figure out like, okay, so if you're running, your opposite shoulder is going to move forward. So your leg comes forward, the opposite shoulder moves forward, and you rotate back and forth as you run. Which leg is up, which leg is down, and the shoulders tip forward, the head comes forward as well. So your weight is much more over your feet and your knees. So you can start to put that body into that position, the way you would almost like an action figure, and draw it. That part gets to be relatively easy the more you do it. But what do you do with your hands when you run? Are they fists? That's the easiest thing to draw because they're sort of little blobby boxes with some lines in it. But here what he's done is he's spread out those fingers, and realistically more than not, when we gesture with our hands or do stuff, your fingers are doing different things. Like these 2 fingers tend to extend more easily, and these your last 2 fingers tend to curl slightly. So when you're running or doing something, it's just natural for it to sort of curl around, which is not easy to draw. But he's done that here. Steve Ditko has done that nicely here in Spidey's hands. And that's something some artists just don't pay attention to, right? Is it important? No, but it gives us a feeling that this is a more real person, because we instinctively know, even if you'd never thought about this before, people don't run necessarily like this or like this unless they're like running a track meet or something. People who are just kind of like startled and go whoa like that, your hands are kind of just naturally, your fingers are splayed out and a little curled. So very, very nice. Here we have the first introduction of Mysterio, and here is another trope that we have seen a lot and I've talked about. He is in purple and green. So he shows up and introduces himself as a hero. Somebody who, and he admits right away, he's like, hey, I'm hiding my identity so that somebody doesn't threaten my family. That's his explanation for his costume. If Spidey had done that at the beginning, maybe he would have saved a lot of trouble, right? But he is in purple and green. Why? Why is that important? We've seen Doc Ock. We've seen the Lizard. We've seen the Sandman. We've seen Doctor Doom. The Vulture. So you're seeing a theme of Spidey's villains being in purple and green. And there's 2 reasons. We've talked about this a little before. One is that we're going to talk about color theory. So in color theory, your primary colors are red, blue, and yellow. and you can mix those colors to make all the other colors, theoretically. So those are called primary colors. Those are colors that we associate with boldness, with action. They are pure colors because you can't mix other colors to make them. These are the colors that you clothe your hero in, and there's a million sources of where you see that. Spider-Man. I'll just stick with Marvel. Spider-Man, Thor, Captain America, Captain Marvel, Iron Man. It's just going through some of the Avengers, right? We go to the X-Men, Cyclops, Wolverine when he's wearing yellow and blue. These are your bold primary colors. Your secondary colors are the colors that are made by mixing two of your primary colors. So yellow and blue make green, red and blue make purple. These colors are not pure. They are mixed, and they are associated with, for good or worse, I love green. Green is a great color. And it can be associated, green can be associated with spring and growth and things like that psychologically. But it's, in this case, and when we look at stories, it's often associated with villainy, with subversion or lies or things of that nature. So we've seen it over and over and over again. Villains are clothed in green and purple. Now, some of you out there who are Marvel fans, who are maybe screaming at your screen going, dummy, you forgot. What about the Hulk? The Hulk's a hero, and the Hulk is green and purple. Well, that's because the Hulk wasn't a hero. The Hulk was a monster. And that's why the Hulk is green and purple. Now, the Hulk ends up doing heroic things, but often not for those same reasons. He doesn't choose to do heroic things. He just is mad at the situation and ends up saving the day. And if you ask Bruce Banner, the Hulk was a curse, right? And that is, again, why you go with green and purple as opposed to why don't you make the Hulk red or blue or yellow? So anyway, there's psychology to colors, and this is why we see Mysterio in green and purple. So he does a little display here where he shows all about his powers and what he can do. He can disappear. He has this letter that disappears, all that kind of stuff. Interesting costume too. This big bubble, the eyes, the cross mesh sort of suit, and the gloves. Kind of reminds me in a way of Doctor Strange. And I don't know off the top of my head. I know Steve Ditko drew Doctor Strange, so I don't know which came first, if Doctor Strange or Mysterio was published first. I'd have to do some research on that. But I'm seeing some of those same themes, which is kind of neat in terms of trying to make a mysterious character. It's obvious that Steve Ditko had some tropes that he liked to go back to. All right, so we have Spidey, we have the bridge. I liked what I put here is this long shot here that emphasizes the height of the bridge. Because you see it in the distance, which is perfectly fine. That's also good. But here, having Spidey on the cable and having all those go down, and you can see in the background, like this is supposed to be the dock. How small that is. It's a little touch. You don't need it. It's not important to the story that there's a dock there, but it emphasizes the scale of how big the bridge is and how high and far away it is from the water. So this isn't just something where, like, if Spidey falls off, he falls 2 feet into a pool. Like, this is serious stuff. So pretty cool. We have our first battle, and as we've seen before in many of these Spidey comics, Spidey goes to all of his kind of normal stuff, right? He uses it. He's going to leap on you. He's going to take a swing at you. He's going to try to web you. Like, he's got his routine, and none of it is working. His webbing is dissolved. This guy is dodging around, jumping around. He's sticking to surfaces. And then there's this big cloud. And so Spidey's like, no problem. I have my spider sense. I can fight in the dark. I don't need my eyes. My spider sense will tell me where he is. But it's not working. There's something blocking his spider sense. And he is getting pummeled inside this smoke cloud where he can't see. Again, nice grid work. This is all happening fast. Bang. He's getting punched. He turns and takes a swing. Oh, he's getting hit some more. And we get to the point where here, he has to dive away. And, people aren't sure. Like, is Spider-Man going to come up? It's a long drop from the bridge. And, of course, his webbing comes in to save him because the webbing can do anything Spidey needs to. And he forms a little air pocket, a web dome that helps him swim away so that nobody sees him. So, again, real nice fight scene here. I really like the pacing is really good. It's good stuff here. Nothing, again, from an artistic standpoint that I go, this is an amazing shot, or this is a great angle, or this is terrific line work. Pretty standard storytelling stuff here. Once we get into the fight itself, but nice, but very nice. So Mysterio is now being hailed as a hero because of one story that makes Spider-Man the ultimate villain, of course. And then here we go. So now we're revisiting the Spider Tracer. So we saw that, as it notes here, in issue 11. So 2 issues ago, Spidey invented his Spider Tracer, a device that he could stick on something, and then he still uses this radio device to track it. Okay, there we go. Eventually, it will be changed to where he can sense it with his Spidey senses. But he's going to check out Mysterio and go see what's going on, because he's just isn't feeling right about this. So here we go. Great use of the spider signal from his belt, and real nice detail here. I don't think we've really seen this that much, but underneath Mysterio's cloak are all these swirls and stuff. So again, real nice costume design, even though it's a little weird with the glass bubble helmet and the eyes on the front. You have that vertical and horizontal, that very geometric grid pattern on Mysterio's body, almost like quilting or something. But then you have these swirls and round shapes behind him, and really separates the two elements from the inside of the cape and the costume. Really, really nice touch. And again, something for a panel that's pretty small that you don't have to do to sell it, but it's a really nice costume touch and costume design, and something, again, that comes straight from Steve Ditko. Really nice stuff. So we have the same thing here. Spidey's spider sense is still not working, and this guy is able to beat him up inside the smoke cloud, and then decides, I might as well spill my guts, which again is a great comic trope. Why? This guy has it all. He's been lauded as a hero. He's defeated Spider-Man, made Spider-Man a villain. Why tell everybody your secret plan is that you actually dressed up as Spider-Man, used mechanical methods to replicate Spider-Man's powers, and then committed a crime as Spidey, and then showed up to be the hero? I mean, why say anything? It's so dumb. But we have to have conclusion, and the villain needs to get their comeuppance. This, again, is the psychology of storytelling, and if he keeps his mouth shut, it's never resolved. I do like as well these little diagrams that he has here of Spidey's costume and stuff as he's trying to figure out how he would replicate it. And it's a neat neat thing here where he's saying that the eye lens is a two-way mirror. So people can see out and nobody can see in. Web. I can't see what that's. Web something duplicate twist maybe. Cling belt. The web under the arm. Does he have spider senses? So somehow, in just studying him, he's really been able to figure this out. And he says there's suction cups are what help him stick to the wall. He creates a gun that shoots a webbing type of device or webbing type of stuff. Really neat stuff there. I like that. So one of the things that I like is it does explain like Spidey's mask, and we'll see this later. Some artists draw it this way, that the white of Spidey's mask isn't cloth. It's like a lens. Certainly in the movies, you see it depicted that way. And then some artists over time depict it that way where it actually can get cracked or broken. But it explains a lot. How can Spidey see through a mask that's solid, right? And so that's kind of one of the earliest ideas is that it's a two-way lens. So here we go. And then he explains how he does all of his Mysterio stuff. The globe, the glass globe is same thing, the two-way lens. He has his stuff in his gloves to dissolve the webbing. He's got springs and magnets and smoke and all this kind of stuff. And of course, Spidey records it all. Of course he does. And then let's see here. Oh, yeah, fantastic. So he's going to try it again. He's got the mist. He knows that Spidey can't sense him in the mist, but Spidey's kind of moving fast and lands a great punch. This is an awesome panel with a great, great punch. The body language, the way that arm is swinging out way past the center of gravity tells you that he's really putting his all into it. The way that this leg is planted, all that weight is pushing off here and coming up and into that shoulder as he twists. And this leg looks like it's off the ground. I mean, that is a powerful, powerful swing. It's so low. Really nice. And we see the result. Look how horizontal Mysterio is. He's not just punching him kind of, and he's falling backwards. He is being rocketed backwards. Terrific stuff. And again, with the hands, right? This guy just got punched. So his hand's not going to be straight. It's not going to be like this. It's twisted at the wrist and curled because he was not expecting to get hit that hard. Really cool stuff. And again, great use of the smoke in this panel here to emphasize that he's still moving. He's still rocketing forward as they go into this movie theater or this movie studio and somersaulting over and over. Really, really nice way to show that, not just through action lines, but using that smoke that always comes off Mysterio's feet to show you the path that he took. I love it. I love anytime we get to see some variation in the panel size, where you've got those horizontal panels really emphasizing that motion. If you tried to do this in vertical panels, it would be really hard because you just wouldn't have enough real estate to work in. So horizontal panels is definitely the way to go here, and great use of the space. Some more stuff here. Okay. We cut to this page here, and this fight is continuing. And one of the things I said is in my notes was this is too small. We have the 6-panel grid, and so I say this all the time. If you've watched these videos, the page is drawn on basically like 10.5 by 15 inches of real estate, of actual paper size, and then shrunk down to be a comic book. So these panels are drawn probably about 5 and a quarter inches wide and a little over 3 inches tall, give or take. It looks like the panels, the borders here are a little thicker, so they might be more square. They might not be quite be they might be square. Hard to say, but let's pretend for a minute they're roughly 5 inches wide. We'll say 4 inches tall, something to that effect. So you don't have a lot of space there. 4 or 5 inches of, in one direction. So I get why you would draw stuff small, but you could still draw larger figures. Now, I know he's trying to show they're in this movie studio, so you're showing all the background stuff. But here's the deal. Once you've established this, so we have this establishing, this is what's called an establishing shot. You've set the background. We've seen the movie camera, we've seen the backdrop, we've seen the actor, we've seen all the planets and stuff. Even here, we've set up the fact there's people in costumes. We're good. I don't need to see every detail in every panel. And that's fine. And that's what he's done here. You notice there is no background in this panel where Spidey punches Mysterio. Perfectly fine. Mysterio leaping away. Great image, by the way. I skipped over that in my notes, but I really like this one. This is where it makes sense being small because you want to show that height that he can get as he's bouncing away and the little figures underneath. But we don't need spacecraft and planets and all that stuff in the background. Here, you could have zoomed in. We could have shown him on, and we would have understood that this is a hanging spaceship in a movie studio. And we could have shown him punching Mysterio. And then same thing, over here, Mysterio grabbing the movie light and Spidey flipping out of the way. I don't need to see the backdrop here. I don't need to see all of the planet in the background. So what happens is, being this small, these images, they just lose power. They look like little toys or little, it needs to be bigger. You could still use the panels, the grid panels for pacing, but these figures are just too small for the story. And then here we go. This is great. Now we come back to this. So I don't understand why this page is this way, right? Because we're seeing it being drawn in other ways of moving the camera in and out using another great horizontal panel. Spidey flying in to tackle Mysterio. Terrific. Great body language on both of them. Neither person is perfectly static. Mysterio's bending a little bit. That leg is bending. The head is down. Spidey's body coming through. Really nice body position and body language. Here's a close-up. Spidey has figured out he's going to hit that eye, and he breaks the jamming device. So now his spider signal is working. And he's able to finally knock out Mysterio and then grab him and take off. But so we've got a medium-ish, not a true wide shot, but it's a wide panel. We have a little bit of a close-up, an extreme close-up of the fist. Now we pull back out further to see the whole body as he gets punched. So it shows the weight of the punch and Mysterio falling back. So you realize he's really knocked out. It's good stuff. Another wide shot of Spidey where he's going to grab his camera because he's got to have pictures. Got to take pictures or it doesn't happen. Close up of him putting it back on his belt, and then a medium shot jumping into the smoke. Again, all the same size panels, but we varied up the size and how close or far away the camera or viewer is to the imagery. And why couldn't we do that here? So to me, this is kind of a lost page. I don't get it, but again, that's me. So here we go. Now, just kind of wrapping up the story. Of course, J. Jonah Jameson somehow is an idiot, is proven wrong yet again, but at no point does anybody just remove him from running this newspaper. Apparently, he must be incredibly rich because he privately owns this newspaper. There's no there's no lawyers, there's no CEO, there's no board who's going to go, hey man, you're out. So it must be nice. And then Spidey comes in to go, hey, how you doing, buddy? You turned everybody against me one more time, so just thought I'd remind you. Don't, I'll keep doing my thing, and I'll keep proving you to be an idiot. And of course, here in this panel, he's webbed up Jonah to the ceiling, swings away, and people are like, yay, it's Spider-Man. He caught the bad guy that literally like a day ago we all thought was a hero and we had a parade for. So no point does anybody, the general populace, ever kick themselves for being stupid. They just switch allegiances willy-nilly. And there we go. And there's the end of the story, and Spidey just kind of moving on to the next one. So there we go. So that is the issue of Amazing Spider-Man number 13, featuring the introduction of Mysterio. And Mysterio does stick around. He's a Spider-Man villain that comes and goes. He ends up in the pages of Daredevil at times, and other books. So Mysterio is a character here that was introduced that sticks around in the Marvel universe for a long, long time. So I hope you enjoyed our look at Amazing Spider-Man number 13. It's a very interesting book, and back to the trope, as I said, of introducing a new villain, which is super, super fun and always interesting to look at. And then next week is huge. Next week is Amazing Spider-Man 14. We do have some reoccurring characters. I'll let you know, we see the Enforcers are back. Okay, the Enforcers, that's cool. A group of muscle for hire, if you will, that was involved with organized crime. There is a guest star of another Marvel hero who has their own title, and an introduction of a new villain that will change Spidey forever. So don't miss next week, Amazing Spider-Man number 14. As always, please like this video if you enjoyed your time here. Think about subscribing to the channel. These do come out every Monday at 8 a.m. And leave comments. Let me know what you think about the video, how you like it. Your thoughts on Spider-Man, some of these older issues. Maybe let me know. Have you never seen these before? Have you seen these in reprints somewhere? I'm interested to kind of just hear more from you. So let me know. As always, follow me on all the social media. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Just search Jerry Rasco. I've always got something going on. I have art coming up, art for sale on some of my social media. I'm working on a new issue of my comic book M Squad number 2. That campaign is out right now on Indiegogo, where you can sign up and order your copy of M Squad number 2 right now. And we'll see you next week for more Amazing Spider-Man art retrospective video. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.